when you say Feudal Republic of Nigeria, obviously I'm playing on the lie that Nigeria has told itself since 1966, and that is the lie of federalism. So instead of saying federalism, I am calling it what I know it to truly be, which is feudalism. No Oba had absolute powers in truth over any Yoruba person. Oba had his property, the other person had his property, and the Oba is obliged to respect the property rights of his subjects. So you had a situation where pre-independence, the British had evolved a system that discounted citizenship as long as the people followed the rules that the British had laid down. How the locals enforced this rule, collected taxes to a very large extent, was in their business. If you have been fortunate enough to watch the cinematic offering, Olufunlayo Ransom Kuti, you would have an idea of the level of citizen participation from the average Yoruba person pre-independence, pre-colonial times. But this mishmash of nationalities cobbled together agreed at the beginning of the Nigerian experiment that there should be a federation, but that federation, as I have said already, is dead to be replaced by feudalism. So what does it rest upon? The first is weaponized ignorance, the acceptable stupefaction of those who should be citizens in order to condition them to accept each and every evil that the state propagates, is evident within the Nigerian space. Nigeria spends little or nothing on education, has over 15 million children, youth slapping the streets unemployed, school age, not going to school, has a massive population of youth unfit for any gainful employment of any sort because they have not been offered any training of any sort. No training, nothing. Largely drug addicted. That is not by accident. It is a tool of feudalism, weaponized ignorance. But aligned to weaponized ignorance is weaponized poverty. When a man is impoverished in his mind, when he is rendered ignorant, when he has become stupefied, when he has been rendered incapable of using his God-given imagination to think his way out of his limitations, then he becomes susceptible to poverty. But when you now have these aligned to institutional measures to assure that the person is perpetually kept underfoot and incapable of raising himself by any bootstrap because he has no bootstrap in the first place, you then begin to understand the nature of the evil that has been unleashed against the Nigerian. How? How to explain? There is no access to credit. No access to credit for the poor man in a society that claims to be capitalist. Almost all legitimate opportunities have been closed off. Every opportunity that the youth might find for self-actualization, for enrichment, for wealth, is closed off. Somebody is going to go put it. The system would license someone to have a toll gate so that the wealth, however little that these imaginative young persons might make, eventually comes back to the system. I need not speak too long. Look at what they are doing with the UAE thing. After shamelessly posturing for over a year about how they have reopened the Dubai route to Nigerians, I don't know what anybody is looking for in that place. Yeah, it's a beautiful country, but they are more than racist. Theirs is even worse. But At the end of the day, Nigerians need some escape. And what have they done again? Find a way to put a toll gate there so that the Nigerian desirous of traveling to UAE pays through his nose. They don't even think about the effect these have on our country, the image of the country. And yet they'll be talking about Hush Puppy and there is Hush Daddy, Hush Dom, Hush Bingo, Hush everything up and down the place. The system ensures that one, there is no light. You don't have public power supply. There is energy poverty. To even power generator in order to do anything productive is next to impossible. The multiple taxes that are there to squeeze anyone who is able to do anything is almost like trying to grow something on rocky surfaces. Nigeria appears to have become a killing field for ideas, for ingenuity. The average person who should be thinking of starting industries are thinking that their monies are better invested in running away from the country. That is the level of weaponized poverty that has been unleashed. People are not migrating, they are escaping because the system has deliberately weaponized poverty against those living in the environment. Federalism has been completely asphyxiated. Everything centralized. The Supreme Court delivered a ruling or a judgment in recent days. And a lot of people are busy jumping up and down the place, celebrating what they are calling local government autonomy. And I laugh. I laugh because I realized that Fela was completely right when he said something in his time, it will take 20 years to understand him. When one is dealing with a people who have been focused on existential consideration, whose preoccupation is essentially about what they are going to eat, how they will survive, it becomes difficult to engage their imagination in envisioning the future that is being designed for them with avarice. Why do I say this? Tinubu built his reputation as a Democrat and a Federalist on the back of the brilliant assault carried out on the 1999 fraud by his Attorney General in Lagos State, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. And a series of cases went all the way to the Supreme Court. And I'm sure you would all remember the celebrated one about local government between himself and General Obasanjo, Lagos, and the federal government. And this was the case where it was held that Obasanjo was wrongly holding on to the local government funds in Lagos State. Now, the same Tinubu who created LCDAs in Lagos State, I believe it took the local governments in Lagos State from 20 to 57 by the addition. Anyway, the same man who took over almost all the functions of the local government in Lagos State, who single-handedly hijacked the totality of local governance in Lagos State, the same man who made sure that Jide Koro's son, that when that one won the Lagos Island local government election, they ensured that he wasn't sworn in. The same person is the one who has now caused the Supreme Court, that is essentially in his pocket, to ignore the obvious provisions of the fraudulent constitution and then declare that the local governments have financial autonomy, ignoring the clear provisions of the constitution that calls for the operation of the joint accounts between the local government and in the states. Completely ignoring this, ignoring that the local governments are not part of the federating unit, but are actually part and parcel of the states. But the lies that have been told over the years in relation to Nigeria, in relation to local governance, the lies that had made local government become something to be placed in the schedule to a federal constitution, the same lies that made Obasanjo justify not paying the local government funds because of the creation of additional one, the same lie that Tinubu once fought against are the same lies that he has today embraced. So now Tinubu is the born-again champion of local government in Nigeria. The full implication and ramification of the Supreme Court judgment can only be lost on fools. The INEC of Mahmood Yakubu, the same fraudulent, shameless Yakubu, and the institution, the shameless institution that he headlines, are now going to be the saints conducting election for local governments in a federal state. Welcome to the feudal Republic of Nigeria. There is a man that you have all ignored and to whom you should learn to pay closer attention. The current Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, and his boss have a clear idea of exactly what kind of restructuring they are carrying out. But what I see is the feudalization of Nigeria. And Lateef Fagbemi and Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be watched carefully. Nigeria is heading closer and closer to ensuring that the president of Nigeria is the Sultan of Nigeria, and that the governors are the emirs. Local government chairmen, I don't know exactly what they are trying to do, but I'm suspecting that they are intended as checks on the powers of the governors. I hope by the time Bola Ahmed Tinubu is done with Nigeria, the same errors that were made by Southerners before him, particularly Obasanjo, who helped to build the foundations for the feudalization of Nigeria, I hope the same errors made by Obasanjo are not going to be compounded by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, all in a push for temporal, ephemeral powers. Men will leave office, seasons will end, but there are consequences to actions. Nigeria is being feudalized. I don't know whether Tinubu realizes it, but if anyone is unaware that the Federal Republic of Nigeria is dead, let them think again. Welcome to the Feudal Republic of Nigeria.